Yeah, how good is Hong Kong? I know many of you will have been there. It's been 10 years or more since I've been to Hong Kong, but what a wonderful city it is. Anybody who's been there just knows how spectacularly beautiful it is, how vibrant it is, a multicultural mix, the gateway to Asia. I thought we'd be seeing some pictures of the city here, but you know Hong Kong, here it is. It's just been such an economic dynamo as a gateway to Asia, a gateway to China for decades, of course, the former British colony, and it's just been this melting pot of ideas, of economic dynamism and, of course, political freedom and freedom of expression on the doorway of China. And that's all finished, according to one expert whose view we should really take heed of. And that is, of course, Rowan Callick, who was writing in The Australian on the weekend. He's a former Asia-Pacific editor of The Australian. He's now with Griffith University's Asia Institute. And Rowan has seen the best and worst of Hong Kong over many years. He joins me now live. Rowan, we've covered on this program the way the new national security laws from Beijing have imposed new stringent controls on Hong Kong, and of course the way the legislature has been bullied and people arrested. That's game over, you're saying. That's game over. We will never see Hong Kong be that thriving metropolis it once was.
It's a hard thing to say, Chris, and good evening to you and to viewers. It's a hard thing for me to say. Our family lived there for 4 years, and I think I can say it's the best time for our family's life. We had a wonderful time, and I've been many times before and since. And it's a resilient place. The people are fantastically resourceful. They survived Japanese occupation, terrible time, and then the communist takeover next door in China, and huge numbers of people flooding in refugees to Hong Kong. They absorbed them, and now they are themselves being absorbed into communist China much more quickly than had been anticipated. You know, they made this, the British made this 50-year deal of Hong Kong pretty well carrying on as it has been for 50 years, but we're now only 25 years pretty well halfway through, and really most of those freedoms that were granted under that one country, two systems formula have gone. Xi Jinping never really liked the idea of one country, two systems. He likes one country, one system, and he's very sincere. He views his country as the best in the world. Why wouldn't you want my system? And so it's being absorbed into it.
Yeah, we've covered some of those political developments and will continue to do so. But this is what was so striking about your piece on the weekend. As you say, your own personal experience living there, understanding it. But Hong Kong will be there physically. The city will be there. It's an important port. Sure. But all those things that made it special, that innovative spirit, that dynamism, that almost that can-do mentality that you might associate with the United States of America, and the cultural melting pot, the freedom of ideas. You're seeing that wilt away before your very eyes. It's going to be a very bland, domineered city like so many others in China.
You're right, Chris. It has been like a Manhattan. I think many people, myself included, have thought there's two cities in the world. There's Manhattan and there's Hong Kong. But they're starting, the authorities are starting, the big crackdown began last year. People wondered what would happen with the protests that have been going on for 5 years. Viewers will have seen the brave young millennials demonstrating on the streets and wondering, are we going to see a Tiananmen-type massacre? But no, Xi has chosen a smarter way of doing things. And now it's building from the bottom up, particularly from the education system, from access to books and what's being published, who is given a licence to teach, who's allowed to be a professor at a university. All these things are starting to change quite quickly, and that's going to change this whole setting. And the other thing is the legal system. because having an independent judiciary and free independent courts, basically the British common law system like we have in Australia.
Yeah, the rule of law's been crucial there.
Changing.
Yeah, that's disappearing.
Yeah.
I wish your assessment was overly pessimistic, but I fear that you're absolutely spot on. Thanks for joining us, Rowan.
Thanks, Chris.
Rowan Callick there. If you haven't seen the piece, have a look in the Weekend Australian. It is tragic. The rest of the world can't or won't do anything about it. They can't really. Hong Kong is being eviscerated before our very eyes.